A man worth $2 billion, lying in a darkened room, fingernails 6 inches long, body down to 93 pounds, terrified to touch a doorknob. That same man broke the world airspeed record, bought Hollywood, dated the most beautiful women alive, built one of the greatest industrial empires in American history. You're about to discover why the same mind that built the empire also destroyed the man, and why the line between genius and madness is thinner than you think. Howard Robard Hughes Jr. was born on December 24th, 1905, in Humble, Texas, a town that would soon sit atop one of the most significant oil discoveries in American history. His father was a stubborn, brilliant man who had invented a revolutionary rotary drill bit that could cut through rock that was previously impenetrable. This single invention would generate hundreds of millions of dollars. Howard was born into wealth, but more importantly, he was born into obsession. His mother, Hélène, was a woman crippled by fear. She was terrified of germs, diseases, and the invisible dangers she believed lurked everywhere. She bathed young Howard compulsively. She examined him for symptoms constantly. She pulled him from school during every epidemic, real or imagined. She was not trying to harm her son. She loved him deeply. But she was teaching him, without realizing it, that the world was a dangerous place, that invisible forces could destroy you at any moment. Howard's father, on the other hand, was all ambition. He took young Howard to see his drilling operations. He introduced him to engineers, investors, businessmen. He fed the boy a diet of achievement and conquest. Between these two parents, one terrified of the world, one determined to conquer it, Howard Hughes developed a psychology that was at war with itself before he ever stepped into adulthood. When Howard was 16, his mother died unexpectedly from complications during surgery. He was shattered. 2 years later, his father collapsed and died of a heart attack. By the age of 18, Howard Hughes Jr. was an orphan and the inheritor of one of the greatest fortunes in America. Think about the voice in your head that says the world is dangerous, that something will go wrong, that you're not safe yet. For most of us, that voice is background noise. For Howard Hughes, that voice was everything. And the tragedy is that it came from the person who loved him most. Most 18-year-olds who inherit a fortune spend it. Howard Hughes decided to multiply it, and he decided to do so on his own terms, in defiance of every guardian and trustee who stood in his way. He spent 2 years fighting the legal system to gain full control of the Hughes Tool Company. He won. Then he did something that shocked everyone around him. He moved to Hollywood. In 1927, Hughes produced his first film. It won the Academy Award for Best Director. He was 21 years old, but Hughes was not satisfied with one success. He was incapable of satisfaction. He immediately began work on what would become one of the most expensive and obsessively produced films in Hollywood history, Hell's Angels. Hell's Angels was originally a silent film. By the time Hughes had spent 2 years filming it, sound had arrived in Hollywood. Hughes refused to release a silent film. He scrapped much of the footage and filmed it again. He hired 167 airplanes. He hired 26 cameramen. He demanded flying sequences that no studio had ever attempted. 3 pilots died during production. Hughes himself nearly died when he crashed a plane while personally filming a stunt. The final cost was $3.8 million, an almost incomprehensible sum in 1930. The film grossed $8 million. What Hell's Angels revealed about Howard Hughes was not just ambition, it revealed his psychology. He could not leave things unfinished. He could not accept good enough. Every detail had to meet his personal standard, a standard that existed in his mind alone, that moved further away the closer he got to it. This was not discipline. This was the first symptom of a mind that would eventually consume itself. You probably know this feeling. The project that was almost done for 6 months. The email you rewrote 12 times. The work that felt perfect in your head, but never quite matched what you put on paper. Hughes wasn't broken. He was extreme. But the engine was the same one you might be running right now. In Hollywood, Hughes was magnetic. He dated the most famous women in the world. He moved through the most glamorous world on earth with the ease of a man born to it. But behind the charm, the mind was already building walls. If Hollywood was Howard Hughes's playground, the sky was his obsession. From his earliest years, Hughes had been captivated by aircraft. He did not just want to watch planes fly. He wanted to fly them. He wanted to build them. He wanted to push them to the edge of what was physically possible. In 1935, Hughes set the world land plane speed record, flying at 352 miles per hour. In 1937, he broke the transcontinental airspeed record, crossing the country in 7 hours and 28 minutes. In 1938, he flew around the world in just 91 hours, a feat that earned him a ticker tape parade in New York City and a meeting with President Roosevelt. The world treated him like a god. But in 1946, Hughes crashed the XF-11, an experimental reconnaissance aircraft he was personally testing over Beverly Hills. The plane malfunctioned. Hughes attempted to land in a golf course. He missed. He crashed into 3 houses. His skull was fractured. His chest was crushed. His left lung collapsed. Every rib on his left side was broken. His heart was literally displaced to the right side of his chest. Doctors expected him to die. He did not die. But something changed. The crash broke his body in ways that never fully healed. He was given morphine for the pain. He became dependent on it. For the rest of his life, Howard Hughes would fight a secret addiction to opiates, a battle he almost never admitted and almost never won. The crash also deepened his OCD, a condition that had been building for years. Now, obsessive thoughts about contamination, about germs, about invisible dangers began to dominate his waking hours. His mother's voice, silent for 30 years, seemed to grow louder. The world was dangerous. The world wanted to destroy him, and every germ on every surface was proof of it. Despite his psychological fractures, or perhaps because of them, Hughes continued to build. By the late 1940s, he controlled Trans World Airlines, one of the most important carriers in the world. He controlled RKO Pictures, a major Hollywood studio. He was acquiring Las Vegas hotels and casinos at a scale no individual had ever attempted. At his peak, Howard Hughes controlled more of the American economy than perhaps any other private citizen in history. But his method of control was unusual. Hughes did not use boardrooms. He did not use meetings. He communicated almost exclusively through handwritten memos, long, detailed, precise documents. in which he spelled out exactly what he wanted, down to the smallest detail. He gave instructions that could not be questioned. He made decisions that could not be reversed. And he increasingly refused to meet anyone in person. This remoteness was not laziness. It was the beginning of an elaborate defense system. Hughes believed, with absolute conviction, that proximity to other people meant exposure to germs, which meant illness, which meant death. He began wearing white cotton gloves. He wrapped his hands in tissue paper before touching door handles. He gave specific instructions about how food had to be prepared, wrapped, and delivered to him. Instructions that ran to dozens of pages. His business empire continued to function because Hughes had built systems that operated around his absence. But the cracks were spreading. In 1953, the Civil Aeronautics Board accused Hughes of reckless mismanagement of TWA. His financial partners began to turn against him. By 1960, Hughes was forced out of operational control of the airline he had built. He had made $1 billion. He had lost control of his company, and he was retreating, slowly, methodically, with terrifying logic, into a world that only he could understand. Here's the thing about control. The more you need it, the more the world seems to resist it. Hughes was building systems not to run a business, but to keep reality at a safe distance. You might not wear gloves, but have you ever structured your life so carefully that spontaneity became threatening? That's the same impulse on a smaller scale. During World War II, Hughes took on a contract from the United States government that would define his legacy in ways he never intended. He agreed to build a massive flying boat, a transport aircraft so large it could carry 750 soldiers across the Atlantic, completely eliminating the danger from German submarines that were destroying Allied supply ships. The project, officially called the H-4 Hercules, was nicknamed the Spruce Goose. Hughes promised to deliver it within 2 years. He delivered it 5 years late. The war was already over. The aircraft had cost the government $22 million. In 1947, Hughes was summoned before the United States Senate, which had launched an investigation into alleged fraud. Senator Owen Brewster, a man with deep connections to Pan American Airlines, TWA's chief competitor, led the hearings with barely disguised hostility. He accused Hughes of wartime profiteering. He accused him of producing nothing of value with government money. Hughes fought back with extraordinary force. He was articulate, aggressive, and deeply prepared. He turned the hearings into a public spectacle, portraying himself as a patriot being persecuted by corrupt politicians in the pocket of his rivals. He demanded that Senator Brewster face him in public. And then, in November 1947, he did what he had been promising to do for years. He flew the Spruce Goose. The aircraft lifted off the waters of Long Beach Harbor for 70 seconds. It flew 1 mile. It never flew again. But it flew. And in those 70 seconds, Howard Hughes became a hero again. The man who had proven his enemies wrong with a machine that touched the sky just once and then was silent forever. Here's a question I want you to sit with before we go further. Was Hughes building the Spruce Goose to prove something to America or to himself? Because the answer changes everything about what comes next. Drop your answer in the comments. Et for America. be for himself. By the 1960s, Howard Hughes had become invisible. He had not been photographed in years. He had not given an interview in over a decade. Rumors circulated constantly that he was dead, that he was insane, that he had been replaced by a body double. The man who had once been the most recognizable face in America had become a ghost. In November 1966, he arrived in Las Vegas in a private train car in the middle of the night, transported by stretcher to the top floor of the Desert Inn. And he never left that floor for 4 years. From his darkened bedroom with blackout curtains permanently drawn, Hughes proceeded to buy Las Vegas. He purchased the Desert Inn because the management wanted him to leave. He purchased the Sands, the Castaways, the Frontier, the Silver Slipper, the Landmark. He bought the local television station because he was annoyed that it stopped broadcasting at midnight. He attempted to buy the Stardust, but was blocked by government antitrust officials. At the height of his Las Vegas spending, Hughes was the single largest landowner in the state of Nevada. He ran this empire of neon and gambling through a network of aides called the Mormon Mafia, devout men who Hughes trusted because, in his increasingly paranoid mind, religious faith seemed to correlate with personal cleanliness. These men fed him, drugged him, shielded him from the world, and watched as he retreated further and further into darkness. Think about what Hughes was actually doing here. He wasn't buying hotels. He was buying control over his environment, one property at a time. When the world feels dangerous, some people retreat. Hughes never retreated. He purchased everything around him and called it safety. It wasn't. What happened to Howard Hughes in his final decade is one of the most harrowing psychological stories in American history. The man who had once piloted experimental aircraft at record speeds now refused to leave his bed. The man who had once commanded armies of engineers and executives now spent his days watching the same 3 films on repeat in a darkened room, unable to move beyond the boundaries of his own terror. His OCD had progressed to a stage that psychiatrists now recognize as among the most severe on record. He developed elaborate rituals around every action. Before touching any object, it had to be wrapped in multiple layers of tissue paper called insulation. Food that arrived without perfect wrapping was rejected. Aides who touched him without following his precise protocols were fired. He went weeks without bathing. His toenails grew to impossible lengths. He lost weight down to 93 pounds. He was not stupid. He was not insane in the way people imagined. His mind remained sharp in bursts. He could still conduct complex business negotiations by telephone, still make decisions that affected thousands of people. But the part of his mind that controlled fear had broken, and nothing could repair it. He moved constantly, from Las Vegas to Nicaragua to Canada to the Bahamas to London to Acapulco, always fleeing something, always certain that the next location would offer the safety that the previous one had denied him. He was chased by demons that lived entirely inside his own skull. The saddest part isn't the fingernails or the weight loss. It's this. Hughes was still making decisions, still thinking clearly in moments, but the fear had carved out a space so large inside him that everything else, the empire, the achievements, the genius, lived around it, not above it. That's what unchecked fear does. It doesn't replace your life. it just becomes the center of it. On April 5th, 1976, Howard Hughes died aboard an aircraft in transit from Acapulco to Houston, where he was finally being taken for medical treatment. He was 70 years old. His body was so emaciated that the FBI had to identify him using fingerprints. The man once celebrated as the face of American ambition died anonymous, unrecognizable, alone. His estate was worth approximately $2 billion. He had no will. He had no surviving immediate family. What followed was one of the most complex and contested legal battles in American history. A years-long fight over the fortune of a man who had spent his final decades trying to control every detail of existence, and who had failed to control the most fundamental one. A handwritten will appeared, allegedly found in the headquarters of the Mormon Church in Salt Lake City, leaving a portion of his estate to a gas station attendant named Melvin Dumar, who claimed Hughes had once given him a ride. Courts eventually ruled the will a forgery. The estate was distributed among Hughes's distant relatives after years of litigation. What did Howard Hughes leave behind? 100,000 patents, companies that still operate today, aircraft that changed military aviation, a medical research institute funded by his estate that has contributed to significant advances in biology and medicine. A man who built one of the greatest industrial empires in American history and destroyed himself in the process. His life asks a question that has no clean answer. Is genius inseparable from obsession? Was the same mind that built empires also the mind that could not stop counting germs? And if you could have removed the darkness, would you still have had the light? Howard Hughes was not destroyed by poverty, or by rivals, or by the government, or by the press. He was destroyed by the very qualities that made him extraordinary. His refusal to accept limitations built empires. His refusal to accept imperfection produced masterpieces. And his refusal to accept the fundamental uncertainty of existence, the fact that the world cannot be fully controlled, that germs exist, that people disappoint, that planes crash and bodies fail, that refusal became a prison that no amount of money could unlock. There is a lesson here that applies to every person who has ever driven themselves toward greatness. Control is not the same as strength. Perfectionism is not the same as excellence. And the voice inside you that says the world is dangerous, that voice may have been given to you by someone who loved you, the way Howard's mother loved him, but it is not always telling you the truth. Hughes built a life that most people can only dream of. He flew higher than almost anyone in his generation. And then he sat in a darkened room for 20 years, terrified of what was outside. The tragedy is not that he failed. The tragedy is that he succeeded beyond all measure, and it was not enough to quiet the voice. One question before you go. Which quality of Hughes do you recognize most in yourself? The obsession that builds, or the fear that limits? Comment A or B. I read every single one. If this story made you think differently about ambition, the next video goes even deeper. The link is in the description. See you there.